Let's introduce all the layout panes. In the past couple video, we already give you the example about the layout pane. So this one is the base class for all the layout pane. So you need to specify each node you want to add to the pane using the XY coordinates. So we know how to place each node in the pane. We also introduce you the StackPane. So the StackPane actually is if you have the component, so they will add one by one only in the center. Remember earlier our circle example, if we only use the pane, they are according to the coordinates placed in the pane. But if we want to place a circle in a StackPane, even you have the coordinate for that circle, but they always place in the center. So earlier, actually in the video, I don't have enough time to show you. So this one, we continue to show you the show circle example again. So remember earlier, if we change this pane become the StackPane, so then we add the StackPane. So when you run this program, your circle originally displayed in the center, but that's not only originally, because you are in the StackPane. So even we try to resize our circle on our window, they are still in the center, no matter what. However, let's give you the more example. How about we just add one more button? So here I create a hello button. So then we just continue to add. Since now I need to add more component, so I need to add the circle. Then afterward I add the button. So then you will see here I have more components, right? But you see when they add into the StackPane, they are one by one. So the first one I put the circle, so they are on the bottom. So the second one, the circle on the bottom. So then you have the hello button, they were on the top of the circle. But no matter how I resize my window, they're always in the middle of that. So that's the StackPane. So continue, actually this one I want you to show you, since we already have the example for the pane and StackPane, I just want to show you the rest of that. So what is the FlowPane, GridPane, and the BorderPane? And H-box and the V-box, actually they have that's very straightforward after you understand that. The first thing we see what is the FlowPane. So the FlowPane actually the same thing, you can add your component one by one. So no matter use the FlowPane or your StackPane or your pane, you also need to using the get children, then you add component one by one. So after you have your FlowPane, whenever you add a new component, they just follow one to each other. For example, we see here, okay? So your FlowPane, you can set the boundary before your, give it some age with your scene. So this one we just show you. For example, I want the user to enter their first name, middle name, and last name. So you can see very ugly, right? Because you have a label for the first name. Then you have the text field. Then you have another label for the middle name, the last name. So when we're using one component, two component, three component, four component, 5 and 6, I have 6 UI nodes I need to add. But when I'm using the FlowPane, they will still have the FlowPane I set here. But you can see whenever I add the node one by one, I call pane get children, I add one by one for each label and the text field. For the FlowPane, actually, they will just add one by one. They will according to the size for your scene, how you will decide your size, your scene. So then they just see if they have enough space, they will have the component 1 followed by component 2. But here, because your text field is too long, the first row is not enough. So then they squeeze to the next line. So the next line, the next row, when they have the text field, right? So then you have another second label. Your second label for the middle name. So since this one is only 3 space, So they have enough space. So they follow by the second component. So then that's why here, the FlowPane, they will just follow one component to the other component if they have enough space. So the FlowPane, when you have all your components, if they are the same size, then they don't have problem. They will organize pretty well. But sometimes when you have your component, you have the label and the text field, and each one actually they are not in the same size. The FlowPane is not a good choice. So instead, we need to have the row and the column display organized. So that's why we should have the GridPane. So the GridPane can have is they will according to the row number and the column number. They will have the space. You see, they will align correctly. So that's why here for the difference between the GridPane. The GridPane actually, when you add the note one by one, you can specify your column index. So the column index, the same thing, just like array, we start from 0. So the row index. So that's why you can add each note more organized. So that's why here you see we still create the same label and the text field. So but now here we use the GridPane. So when you use the GridPane, right, on this one for the GridPane, you don't need to get children, because GridPane, when they place each component, they are not add all the component in one list. Instead, each component they need to add correctly to have your column index and your row index. So that's why here we still add the label text field, but because we add one by one, very organized with the index for the row and the column. So that's why they will display like this. So that's the GridPane. So all the pen, they have different usage, and you need to choose the right one according to how many GUI components you want to put in your GUI display. So like here we show you pen according to the coordinates, StackPane, all the components in the center. FlowPane, they will just add one by one. So if you have all the UI component, UI node, they are with the same size, FlowPane is fine. They will still display very organized. But if they are not, the GridPane can help us to have each component, each node in the cell of the two, like a table format grid. So all they are depends on how you want to use that. But very popular one is the next one we want to talk about is the BorderPane. Because sometimes I don't want you to just have the table format. I have different region. So BorderPane, the good thing is they place the note in 5 different regions. You have top, right, bottom, left, and the center. And also remember, even you have different region like this, right? But each pen, each node in the pen, you also can add other pen into the region of your pen. So they can be pen in the other pen as well. So that's why here we see what is our BorderPane. So the BorderPane, like earlier we say, they will have top, right, bottom, left, and the center. So these 5 components, they will make them look like this. So this one is, if I do have 5 regions for my BorderPane, so when I create my BorderPane, I have the default constructor. So then you will see they can set top, set right, set bottom, set left, and center. And also you see each one, actually we create another StackPane in each of that. So this one is earlier I said, you can have one region of the BorderPane actually contain other pen. So here we create a custom pen. This custom pen actually extends from the StackPane. So we just have the StackPane. I just want to display a label on top of that. So that's why here you have a top StackPane. So then you can see here when you set top for your BorderPane, right? So this node have another StackPane on top of that. So not only the StackPane, you can add a pen, regular pen, into the top region for your BorderPane. So then this pen you can add different nodes. So the good thing is the BorderPane, why they are popular, even we show you they have 5 regions, right? But you not always need to set each region. For example, if I only have top, center, and the bottom, I don't have left and right. They just make this left and right is gone. So then the center just in the center. So they will still have their relative location set correctly. So why the BorderPane is popular? Because later we will show you. Sometimes you want to divide your GUI layout. You have the right part and the left part. The left part and the right part, right? So then you can just using the BorderPane, you set left and set right. So you can divide your GUI into 2 parts. So the BorderPane can, according to what you really want to use, to set your region to meet the programmer's need. So that's our layout pane.